Hey, wonderful people, big smile from me today. You will all remember Tasmin Archer's beautiful song, Sleeping Satellite. Here's a short clip.
I blame you for the moonlit sky and the dream that died with the eagle's flight. I blame you for the moonlit nights when I wonder why are the seas still dry. Don't blame this sleeping satellite.
Yeah, I can't play the whole thing. There's a link in the description, but I know you remember it and love it like I do. Sleeping Satellite was written in the summer of 1989, but it was not released until September 1992. The song, of course, went to #1 in the UK hit parade and high up in the US Billboard chart. Written by Tasmin Archer, John Hughes and John Beck. The song's beautiful, poignant and haunting lyrics are sung with such conviction by Tasmin. It immediately connected with an audience because it touches everyone who hears it. And Sleeping Satellite is a big hit with NASA and the European Space Agency. So it's my honour today to talk to Tasmin Archer about her iconic song. Hi, Tasmin. It's really nice to meet you, and I'm very honoured to meet you.
I'm honoured.
Yeah. Oh, well, great. Me and my viewers are very pleased to speak to you. And we want to specifically ask you this question. So your fabulous song with your partner, John, was written in summer 1989.
Correct.
What was relevant about the date?
Well, the date was, at the time, we'd found a newspaper with an article in about the 20th anniversary of the man's first landing on the moon. And we were looking for lyrics for how the song that we had the melody and we had all of the other bits and pieces. And we had a few lyrics here and there. We had things like, I blame you for the moonlit sky. So we tend to gravitate towards song lyrics that have some kind of depth to them. We don't want to just chuck it away with anything. And so John was reading this newspaper article, and it was a sunny day, and I can remember it very clearly. And I think it was like a eureka moment, because he said to me, look, we're going to do this song and it's going to be called Sleeping Satellite. And then he explained the whole thing, the whole concept of it all and what it was about, which was just basically asking questions about, in that time period, what have we done? There seemed to be sort of not much progress, if any at all, at that time. And so it seemed to come to an end, to an halt. And I think people
exactly 20 years later.
It's a bit bizarre. And I mean, at that time we were thinking this is going to be a really good subject matter, and that was it basically. I mean, with a bit of poetic license thrown in, as you do. I mean, that's how we wrote the song. That's how the...
Oh, let's talk about the poetic license, because that's so good. There's so many incredibly well-written and well-thought-out lyrics in the song. Yeah. And it's also, I mean, it's such an inspiration for people. So my second question is, to me, the song is really about regret. About losing the mystery of the moon.
Yeah.
But is it about regret?
Yeah, I think there's that kind of tone in there with it, and I think also it's not kind of it's just wanting us to have done a little bit more with what we'd achieved already, and we seem to have just lost our sort of enthusiasm, and it just came to a halt. And I think when you have something like that builds you up in such a way, and everybody, I mean, people were in the US that were really wanting this to work because of the Sputnik situation and Russia and all of this, and so they were ramping up a lot of hysteria over it, and so there was a lot of layers going on with the run up to actually achieving this great thing, and I think people should have been given a little bit more of a momentum to keep going and develop.
Yeah, it seems very amazing that it did stop. What's your memories of when it was going? I mean, did you watch it on TV? Do you remember them walking on the moon?
I think I vaguely remember it, but I was only 6 years old, so
Oh, right.
perhaps a little bit scattier than I am now. But yes, I do remember like little bits about it. Not very much. Um, at that time, I don't think I got the gravity of it all and what it actually meant to people and all of this, you know. So it wasn't really something that I was totally invested in any way because I was only 6. So
Yeah, same here. Yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean, but you very cleverly used the NASA lyric. I don't know if you made it up or it was a NASA catchphrase, "Man's greatest adventure."
Well,
I mean,
it could well have been because I mean, in that article,
yeah,
where they were asking questions, they were asking why in that length of time there's been nothing in that interim period. There's just been nothing going on, and it's just so they were asking those questions, and I suppose that kind of level of approach also. I don't know if he took it directly from the magazine or anything like that. I have no idea, but basically
right.
it came to be and I was so pleased about it. And to get more of a in-depth thing about it, I think you'd have to speak directly to John.
Oh no! That's true. But it is such a memorable
Yeah,
phrase in the song. It's
yeah,
very powerful
yeah,
when that lyric repeats
yeah,
because you go, "Oh yeah, it was." I mean, it was an amazing thing that you people of our age lived through.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that was a sort of a not a meme or whatever it was going around at the time, yeah,
Yeah.
it will obviously have great importance within that song. It will have to, definitely.
You your song is off. I've worked in television all my life, and I've worked for NASA and Discovery Channel, things like When We Left Earth.
Yeah,
And your song is often being used in science and space documentaries because it is so poignant.
yeah.
But have you, Tasmin, have you ever actually met or any of the astronauts?
Well, I have. I've met, yes, I've met Piers, and I'm just going to look when I actually met him. Um, yeah, he's the late Piers Sellers now. So I mean, yeah,
Right.
sadly, yeah, we met him at the what was it, the International Astronautical Congress ceremony because we were asked to perform in the opening ceremony.
Okay. Right.
And Mark Hemsel, who um, kindly well, he was enthusiastic about having us there and performing it live. And so, yeah, when we were there, Piers came to the dressing room before we went on stage, and he was talking to myself and John about how much he loved the song and what it meant to him and to a lot of other people. And so, yeah, we were privileged really to be there, and it was just cool to be there. It was good.
Oh, that is yeah. My impression of hanging out with those kind of NASA people
Mm.
and working on films is that we're always saying "sleeping satellite." Yeah, we're always pushing it for the theme tune or for music in the film. So there's definitely a big following. You've
Yeah,
got a big following in Houston.
it's all right, great stuff. And I also remember now coming to think of it, Tim Peake. We did a
Oh yeah.
we did a short video just to wish him luck and have fun and all that
Mm,
kind of thing because we were asked by is it the European Space Agency were
mm,
asking us to
mhm,
do it,
mhm.
and they told us that like Sleeping Satellite was a big favorite of a lot of the astronauts, and
It
and
is. It is.
so it was so cool to be able to say hi to him while he was up there, you know.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure it's on an International Space Station playlist.
I'm sure it is. I've got a book here
I
actually that is by um,
oh
Robert C. Parkinson,
yeah.
and it's called
Okay.
Citizens of the Sky. And he actually kindly signed a copy for each of us. Um,
Oh.
and obviously, he had a lot to say in there about the problems with getting a lot of the finances to get his projects moving and things like that at that time. So there wasn't a lot of push
Okay.
given back when he wrote it, which was what's it, 87, I think it was. 1987
Okay.
came out.
And what's he wanting to do? He's keen to return to the moon, is he?
I'm not sure what he's doing presently, but at the time, in this book was, I think he was either head of the, what do you call the horizontal takeoff landing project?
Oh,
That was back in the day.
right. Reusable rockets and things,
Yeah.
very, very much coming out of Britain as well. That's interesting.
So at that time when he was working on that, I think he was having trouble getting backing and things like this to keep it going. And I think it did fade out a little bit. But the ideas he had at that time are still being taken on by a lot of other people now. So maybe it's getting a little bit better now. I think there are people now really pushing for things to happen.
I'd have to tell you a funny story. So I interviewed either him or Alan Bond from Reaction Engines, who were doing this thing. And Alan said to me, I said, "How did you come up with the idea of your horizontal rocket?" And he said it was people like creative artists and science fiction. He remember reading the idea of a reusable rocket in a Dan Dare comic.
Oh, wow.
And what I said, yeah, but Tasmin, I mean, that's the whole point. As creative people, as people who produce stuff, we can be an inspiration. I mean, the science of Star Trek, people are working on, we want the real Star Trek now.
But like anybody, I like to, obviously I'm not an expert in the science aspect of it all, but and I'm the workings of it. But I obviously daydream about things like that myself, and I like to go down the rabbit hole with a lot of different technologies that are maybe appearing now, and remind you of things that you used to see on Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that, which people would have thought were impossible at that time. But I reckon that we will be starborn. We will be a race that is out there.
We are very much star children.
Yeah.
The other thing that comes across very much strongly in your wonderful song is that I kind of regret that the missions didn't have more of an environmental impact. Do you think that the Apollo program or space generally should have been better for Earth?
I think so. Even at that time when we were discussing it, John and I, when we were obviously examining the lyrics and going through the whole thing with what he'd read about and things, I think that we put too much emphasis on just the one shot of doing something and not looking at the bigger picture of how we can make this planet still be functional for however long we have before, let's hope not, that we do ourselves damage.
It's our only planet.
Yeah, our own planet, and we love it, and we should take care of it like a baby. And we should, and a lot of the technology that came out because of all of this, because of all the exploration that we did in space and the technologies that came from that, I don't know if it was true about Teflon and things like that, and lots of other different things that came from it, but we and diving suits and things like that, and from the materials that they used on these outfits, or whatever you may call them. I don't know what the right term is, that we use now in our everyday lives. And a lot of the technology is good for the planet. It's good for the planet. There's no doubt about it. But we have to be careful about how we're mining for these resources and how we're going about them, because we don't want to be damaging somewhere else to fix somewhere else.
Quite right. I mean, the most amazing thing for me that came out of the Apollo, apart from walking on the moon, which is brilliant, but is that classic picture, the photograph of Earth for the first time seen as a small blue. I mean, and I think your song hints at, very much talks about the mysticism and and how important it is, for us to actually see our planet. Specifically talking about the moon, do you think that once Neil and Buzz stepped off the lunar lander onto a dusty, nasty, lifeless moon. Do you think it changed? Do you think it changed our attitude towards that beautiful thing hovering in the sky?
No doubt about it. Can you imagine actually seeing something like that from that perspective? That you've got to be. I think you've got to be brain dead, haven't you? Really, not to be thinking in awe of what this planet is, and we're actually living on it. You know, that's just mind blowing, to see something like that. And
Can I need to sponsor you to go to space.
Well, I go.
Right. Would you be happy to blast off in a rocket and go up to the ISS or Tasmin on the moon?
I was discussing this with John just recently. I've seen people going in the rockets, and they're not actually trained astronauts. Are now getting just average Joe, but they're getting people to go up and travel and get that experience of going up there. And I watched one chap who went up there with a few other people, and he was very, very nervous. Let's put it that way. He was very nervous, but he was excited at the same time. And I think that personally, I wouldn't have done years and years and years ago, but having seen so many people go up there now that are just perhaps not as well trained as an astronaut, and knowing that you can do it too, it just makes you feel, well, why not want to do something like that and see it from that perspective. That'll be.
I know. You must have flown internationally a lot. And have you looked out of the plane window and just seen the hint of the curvature of our Earth and the dark blue sky above you? Isn't it amazing?
Yes, it is. It's just, you don't have words. You don't have words. It's just, it's just, what is the word? It's just heavenly, really, and that is
heavenly. That's a very good word. Very good word, Tasmin. That's great. So let's go on to extraterrestrials, as you do.
The rabbit hole. Don't get me started.
Are you interested in
Yes, I am.
UFOs and UAPs and specifically about life outside of Earth?
Yes,
do you think there's life? Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think so. I think that it would be absolutely madness to think that we are just the only beings that could. It's just
scary.
It's just scary, but it's also exciting as well. I mean, we need to come up a notch to be able to comprehend and take on that whole thing in a much more level-headed way, and instead of a very mystical and fairy-like way. We've got to be a bit more grounded about how we are going to approach it if and when we find out that there are other beings and other, maybe not the same as us. We don't know. We've no idea, because I mean, different environments will create a different type of a situation with what life would look like. So I think that we have to grow a little bit to come to that place, because I think that that's what it is. You have to meet at a certain place in your own mind and in your own growth as a species and as human. And I think that when that happens, that is when we will be, our eyes will be open, if you like.
You see it as a very positive. You don't see it as a scary thing or undermining society or religion. You see it as a very positive thing when we have confirmation. Mm-hmm.
I think that as human beings, we've always been the domineering force on the earth, and we have to get used to the fact that we may not be as domineering as say something else that we engage. But I think if we approach it from the right perspective, I think we can handle whatever there is to come. I think we're special in many, many ways, and I think that we have that. And I'm not saying it to say, oh, we're the greatest, or it's not a kind of a. No. I think that we're just built that way, and I think that once we get to a certain level, we are going to be able to expand even further and develop. We can't stay as we are. We just cannot stagnate in the way that we may want to.
And having the confirmation that there's a technological signature of life is going to be amazing. I think it's going to happen very soon.
I do. I think that the majority of people are we're on that trajectory, which is just where you hit that plateau where everybody understands that this is just something that is the norm, and this is going to happen, and this is how it is. I think
very much so. I think there's very good evidence from new scientific instruments like the James Webb Telescope and radio telescopes.
About the James Webb
yes.
telescope,
yes.
Are we going to have any problems with like looking out into deep space now with the situation with, and I am going to be controversial, Elon and the satellites that he's what they call it, Starlink, that he's putting up there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm more controversial than you are, Tasmin. Starlink, it's a pain in the arse.
Yes.
I mean, for Earth-based astronomy, there's thousands of the little buggers. I mean, I mean, obviously James Webb is way far away, and it now needs to be. Light pollution and electromagnetic pollution for radio astronomy here on Earth from things like interweb in the space is not that great.
No, I mean there are benefits to having things like this, but if it's going to prevent us from doing the research that we need to do to have these telescopes have a clearer view, and if they're going to interfere with that, then there's something that we have to look at. We have to.
Definitely. So we're definitely going to have confirmation. We're definitely going to meet ET. We're in probably. I very much hope your and my lifetime, Tasmin. I hope so. Would you consider writing another song? Would something like confirmation of an alien life force or an ET be an inspiration to you and John? Yeah, of course it would.
Goes without saying. We'd like to look at things from an open mind, and if we find that there's something that's going to resonate and it's going to be as it was with Sleeping Satellite, which was just a very pure form of how we're just wanting to share what we were excited about and do it via music, then music is a good medium to use that kind of thought process and enthusiasm and inspiration to do that, to bring people to understand. That's what music does. And we want to use it.
I think, well, you do it very well. And I think the longevity and the brilliance of Sleeping Satellite has been an inspiration and is still an inspiration, as you say, even to NASA and Tim Peake and people on the space station. Oh, that is a great legacy. On a more commercial question, were you at the time back in when it was the #1 hit in the UK and the US, were you under commercial pressure to do a follow-up in this, in a similar vein, because you've moved on to do amazing other work, but what was the record company's attitude towards Sleeping Satellite?
Well, at the time, to be honest with you, they did not recognize it for what it was at all, and they turned it down. They turned it down many times,
Cool.
Different record companies and all of these things. So they didn't see the vision of how what that song was about and what the inspiration and the feeling, the emotion was about it all. They just just didn't see it. And I mean, that's the way it is. Sometimes it happens like that, and sometimes it doesn't. But nevertheless, we pushed forward and we kept going, and eventually they saw what we saw, because when we were making the song, right at the beginning, I knew there was this epic kind of feeling about it, and this bigger sort of thing that we were making, and I knew it at the time, and I just looked at John, and John looked at me, and we thought, yeah, that's going to work. So that's how it took off. Yeah, they wanted to have another sleeping satellite, blah blah blah.
I wondered, yeah.
And Mark II, great expectations, and for the album and everything. But we wanted to just expand our horizons and just try something different. And so we went with the second album, which was called Bloom, and that had a more earthy kind of organic feel to it. So
that's right.
That's what we're about, exploring, and maybe to our detriment. So. But we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. So
no. That's that. I mean, the inspiration for that Man's Greatest Adventure and Sleeping Satellite, you can bring to any of your work. I mean, there's other big questions and movements in the world which you can, as a creative artist, talk about.
That's what we intend to do. We've got an album now, which is it's a new album, and it will be out. I think the beginning of next year. So January time, and it's called A Cauldron of Random Notes, and and on that album there is a track called Hysteria, which, looking at it, if you're looking back to the link of where Hysteria came from, about the time around when in the US they were all getting very, very hysterical about Russia and things like that, and they were using the fear to drive a lot of the sort of hysteria that was happening around about that time to push forward. Now that to me, it isn't the right way of going about things if we want to sort of really develop into a society that really starts reaching out into space, because we have to have the right attitude before we can even do that, I believe, or else we will leave more trails of destruction. If we
exactly. As
if we're not really a caring society of species, if you like, and we have to have that balance. Yes, you have to push through in very much sometimes in a very kind of aggressive way, but we have to bear in mind the whole picture if we're going to be traveling further on into space.
Well, Tasmin, you certainly succeeded in many of those goals in Sleeping Satellite, because it's inspirational. It's a clear message. It obviously touched so many people's hearts. It's also a beautiful tune and beautifully performed by you, and it continues, to be a popular song. Long may it continue, which is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, it's more than a song for me. It's a song that summed up that era and asked questions about what we did. And I think that was very important, and I think your work is brilliant like that. So now, Tasmin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. I've enjoyed myself.
Oh, well, yeah, you were fantastic. And I've always wanted to ask those questions. So I'm very honored, and certainly my humble YouTube viewers will be very pleased to meet you. So thank you very much for today.
Thank you.
All right.
If I can just say one other thing as well.
Oh, please, more.
Yeah. If you want to check out my new album, though, you might get something out of that in January. It'll be out in January.
We're definitely going there.
Before that, there'll be 2 singles streamed, so it'll be available for streaming and things like that before the album goes out. And
you and John release your work by yourself. You're on the internet.
We do our own. Yeah, we've got our own label that we set up specifically to release our music called on the label Quiverdisc, and
right.
So yeah, but we're doing it all ourselves, which we have all the control. Then there's no music by committee.
Right. Well, we'll all tune into your website and channel and singles and LP when it comes out next year. Please email me links, and I'll add them to. Yeah, that would be great. So, Tasmin, it's absolute joy. Thank you very much.
It's been a joy for me, Simon. Thank you for having me.
Peace.
Peace.
Oh, thank you, Tasmin, for speaking to me and writing such a beautiful song. There's links in the description to the video version so you can hear the whole thing if for any reason you don't know it off by heart. And as Tasmin said, she now runs her own record company with her partner, John. Links in the description for Tasmin Archer's latest work. The truth is out there.